At an age when many women are becoming grandmothers, a 56-year-old woman from New York decided to tackle motherhood for the first time. Wednesday, Alita St. James gave birth to twins. That's 2 babies. She says the experience has been wonderful, but just how risky is it for a woman her age to become pregnant? Tom Ziska joins us now with more on that. Tom?
Jen, thank you. Dr. Timothy Hickman is a reproductive endocrinologist from Hermann Memorial City Hospital, and he joins us this morning to talk a little bit about this issue. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Let's start with the danger versus age issue. How dangerous is it for a 56-year-old woman to be giving birth to children?
Well, clearly pregnancy is a problem with increasing age. I mean, it takes a big toll on the body. So we have an increased risk of things like high blood pressure, there's an increased risk of C-section, increased risk of problems with the lungs and kidneys and so forth. So there's no question it's a health risk.
A lot of people who hear this story and see this woman, and obviously, you know, that she had a successful birth, a tremendous success, that's grand. But they ask, why should a woman this old be choosing to have children? And what part of that goes into the ethical decision to help a woman in this particular situation?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. And clearly her age is the controversial part. The fantastic thing is that the medicine has evolved to the point where we're able to help women have children. And of course she used donor eggs, eggs donated from a younger woman, and that's really the limiting process. So if one chooses a donor that's young, that changes things. Now, as far as how old one should be, that's kind of an ethical debate, in that our subspecialty has looked at that question and felt that really the appropriate age to stop is at the age of natural menopause. So most in the country here would stop at age 50, 51, somewhere in that range.
And that's an ethical choice that a physician or a practice as a group would make.
Yeah, there's no mandate on a limit of any type by the government or so forth, but most physicians feel that that's about the appropriate time to stop.
In that some physicians, obviously, as in this case, will make the decision to help older women. Do we get ourselves into a situation, you think, where some physicians are going to say, well, you know what, I think we can help push the 60-year-old woman, the 62-year-old, and on and on? Do we get ourselves into that conundrum?
Well, we could. Medically, it's possible. I mean, theoretically, we could take an 80-year-old woman, and she might have a heart attack during labor or break her hip during the process, but it's possible. So the question is, you know, how far should this go? And we don't have strict answers. We do have guidelines, and most people would say the age of menopause is pretty much where one should consider stopping.
Well, I know it's a development that I know your profession will certainly be discussing. Dr. Timothy Hickman, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
We appreciate your wisdom. Jose and Jan, back to you.
I think there is such a thing as a digital divide across Australian suburbia. This is the idea that some households have access to the internet, other households do not. And it's measured at the censuses. In 2006, 63% of all Australian households had access to the internet. By 2011, that proportion was 79%. And if you look at access to the internet across the metropolitan area, there is very much a divide. In Melbourne, the proportion of households with access to the internet reaches a high point at Docklands, more than 90% of households, and a low point in a suburb known as Ardea, near Sunshine, where the proportion is 65%. If there is a digital divide, it exists very much between the centre of Melbourne and Melbourne's western suburbs. This week I look at the changing access to the internet as measured between the 2006 and 2011 censuses.
The following program is classified MA15+. It contains sexual references. 11 advises that it's not suitable for people under 15.
Wikipedia is not acceptable for scholarly sources. Seriously, no. But the sources on Wikipedia, sometimes they are. Hey researchers, Trace here, looking into the deep annals of the web for D-News to dissect Wikipedia. Back when I was in college, Wikipedia was in its infancy. It didn't necessarily cite sources, but now it's heading into, as I see it, a golden age. Firstly, why isn't Wikipedia scholarly? If you Wikipedia and you get over the weird Drosty effect, it says there's a split perception in academia about using this online general encyclopedia as a scholarly source. Wikipedia certainly doesn't and shouldn't claim to be one of those, but it's a great collection of general information. Primary sources are like journals or letters or a photo, while secondary sources would be a commentary or a description of that journal or photo. Wikipedia is definitely the latter and thus subject to interpretation and bias far more than that primary source would be. According to Cornell's digital literacy resource, Wikipedia isn't scholarly, but the sources it's citing might be. Unfortunately, they say it's far too general an encyclopedia for good information. It's not peer-reviewed by other experts, and there's not a static ability to come back easily to find that information months, days, or years later. In general, encyclopedias like Britannica or the World Book aren't citable themselves once you get to a professional level in your degree program. They're just too basic. But to say that they're better than Wikipedia isn't exactly correct either. A study in Nature in 2005 indicated that when directly compared to the Encyclopedia Britannica, Wikipedia had a similar number of errors in their science articles. Britannica disputed their claim and Nature rebutted it. It was an internet encyclopedia battle royale. In the 42 articles they looked at, there were 8 serious errors overall, 4 from each encyclopedia. But when it came to spelling mistakes, factual errors, and the like, Wikipedia had 162 to Britannica's 123. Jimmy Wales, founder of the website, believes the best way to improve it is to get experts to start giving it some love. And the University of California here in San Francisco is ready to do just that. Medical students are pretty scholarly, right? Well, starting this year, those medical students will be able to edit Wikipedia for a grade. According to the release from UCSF, Wikipedia gets 53 million page views a month just for their section on medications, an area where, I think you would agree, medical students and their professors would have a little bit of expertise. Rather than leaving it to the masses, the professor, Dr. Amin Azam, believes that it would be beneficial for these rising experts to set some of their records straight. On the record, not only is this going to improve Wikipedia, it will teach these med students how to talk to the public, something doctors ain't so great at. In my opinion, Wikipedia is a great place to start your research. I do it most every day. I get a good foundation, and then you go on to more scholarly, specific primary sources. For example, I found the link to this on Vice's Motherboard blog, but I went to UCSF for the actual press release. Primary source, what up? If I were to want to dig even deeper and get more information, I'd go to Dr. Azam himself, but we're sticking pretty general with this one. So how do you feel about this? Should we be giving academic credit for editing Wikipedia? Are you going to stop citing Wikipedia and find primary sources? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more D News.
It's called cookies that track just about everything you do on the internet, from your spending habits to even your income. Time magazine wanted to find out what is behind these devices, really who is following you and what personal information do they gather along the way, and then how do they use it? Joel Stein chronicled his investigation in the latest Time magazine issue, and he joins me from Los Angeles this morning. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So explain why you wanted to look into this in the first place.
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly self-obsessed, so any information I can get on myself, I wanted. But I just had heard that there are these giant data mining companies that have, like, permanent files on us, and I kind of wanted to see what was in my permanent file. And it turns out so much and from so many companies that I got bored as I started looking at them.
Yeah, I can't believe
it. Was not me.
It was scary.
Yeah.
You said that you had asked them to check into this. You got a phone call a couple hours later, and they had already had your social security number. And in fact, they had found it within minutes. They just said, sorry, I didn't call you back. I was at lunch. How is that possible? We do so much to try to protect our privacy, and then seems like everything's out there for the world to see.
Yeah, it's this guy who owns this company called Reputation.com. And I just gave him my name and my email address, and he came back, called me back 2 hours later with my social security number and my sister's social security number and my mom's social security number, which, by the way, I haven't told them I have. So I have blackmail power over them now.
Hopefully they're still sleeping.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But let's take a look at, we have a graphic just to sort of outline the process of how you went from figuring it out. It's kind of interesting. So here you are. We're going to show it in a second.
Let's do it.
Okay, there's you, and you browse through, let's say, sports websites, right? So the computers have this matrixy code, funneling code, right? They drop these cookies into the browser, and then they're, in effect, tracking you. They were able to find out, let's say, that you had a favorite hockey team, and then you would see an online ad for those exact hockey tickets. It seems complicated, but it seems like they're able to do this rather quickly and on a very wide-ranging scale.
Yeah, no, they're able to really customize ads for you, which kind of is a good thing, I think, in that instead of seeing ads that aren't relevant to me at all, when ads become super relevant, they kind of become information because it's about what band that you love is in town, or what director has a movie coming out that you really like. So at some point, I think we stopped thinking of them as ads, and they were like, oh, great, I was wondering when that restaurant was opening near me. Yeah. So I think that's much better than those jumping monkeys where you don't know what they're up to, those banner ads that used to exist.
Right, I know exactly what you're talking about. But the thing is, so you talk about it being a little bit benign in that way, but the fact that somebody has your social security number, I mean, that could turn ugly pretty quickly, can it?
Yeah, well, that's the thing that obviously your bank is worried about even more than you, which is protecting your data and making sure that your passwords are secure and that people can't steal your identity and break into your bank. That's kind of a separate issue, in my opinion, than this data mining thing, which is mostly about advertising.
Right, so I did it. I used the same privacy tracker that you did just to check it out.
So we found out stuff about you?
Well, they were pretty accurate. I mean, they pretty much had my age range. They had my gender correct. They had said I'm interested in news sites, obviously, and current events. Well, because we do a lot of stuff for they said I was interested in anatomy, which was interesting. I didn't know where that came from. But
I've heard that about you now. Yeah.
But they were pretty spot on. Now, my researcher who did it as well, she's very young. She's only 24.
Wait, come on. We found out other stuff about you.
No. They had her pegged as a 55-year-old man who liked sports, so we were confused about. I mean, they're not always spot on.
No, and it depends on what they're up to. Like, sometimes they're really just interested in what you're doing on the web right this second, or in the last few hours. So there was a while where one of the companies thought I was an 18 to 19-year-old woman because I had bought some lingerie for my wife. I think that's why.
Wow.
Or maybe I was just kind of girly that morning.
Oh, my God.
You gave away a ton of secrets.
It was nice, though.
Yeah, I'm sure it was beautiful. Yeah. You're so romantic. All right, Joel Stein, contributor with Time Magazine. Interesting topic, and it's a great cover story this week. Thanks so much.
New South Wales police are cracking down on cybercrime. They say that as the number of internet users soars, so too does the number of crimes committed using computers. The police commissioner warns that anyone could fall victim, even him.
It was Kate Lever's friends who alerted her to the fact her Facebook account had been hacked. The hacker posted a message that while overseas, she'd been mugged, was penniless and urgently needed money.
They were kind of like, got no money, really need your help, come on guys, I'd be there for you if you needed it.
One of Kate's friends was so worried about her, he sent money via a Western Union transfer.
$1,000, which is unfortunate for him.
While it's hard to calculate, the billions of dollars in global proceeds from cybercrime are now thought to eclipse the illegal drug trade.
Every crime within 10 years, I believe, will have a cyber flavour.
The state's top cop narrowly escaped a cyber scam himself when he tried to buy a car over the internet.
That if I'm being caught, then you can be sure, well, almost caught, then you can be sure there are many, many more out there that are being caught.
Australians are among the heaviest users of the internet in the world, and the US Secret Service has warned police here that Australians are a particular target in a virtual criminal playground.
We tend to be a little bit naive. We have this she'll be right mate attitude.
New South Wales police say the challenges are enormous.
Most of the money that is acquired by criminal gangs through cybercrime goes out of the country.
Kate Lever is back on Facebook, but with 400 friends instead of the 1,000 she had when her account was hacked. Philippa McDonald, ABC News.